Slaying dragon, defending your planet from alien invention, or bouncing on the head of Koopas. Sound familiar? If you are not anything like me, you have tried all of this. You just got done playing your favorite games contains quite a bit of guilt killing and bonding, so what's your next move? Well, to some of the more extreme people out there, you are going to plan out some heinous and gory crime. Obviously, when your plan is likely something more, can get something to eat or take a nap. Since the advent of violent video games, they have been blamed for countless tragedy, mainly school shooting done by students. I think it is important to look at the facts surrounding the myths that video games have to blame, because once you read into it, it's such a flimsy and unfounded argument. I'm Amirah Binti Rozi to persuade you that violence in video games does not affect violence in real life. Video games, violent or otherwise, have been proven scientifically times and again to be quite the opposite. People who play games have been found to have better eyesight and better timing, have saved lives and helped cure disease. Frankly, I've done a lot of research over on this topic. However, one of my biggest proof is myself and those I know. I know personally that I have met in passing thousands of gamers. These gamers are not in prison or on trial for violent crimes. They are at home playing games and procrastinating on schoolwork just like me. Video game has become the new favorite target of those playing in the blame game on society issue, but this wrongfully blame only serves to hide a growing industry that is only of the few creating jobs. For years, I've enjoyed playing video games ranging from everyone to mature ratings start at a young age. Let me tell you, I've never once felt the urge to commit a violent crime without not counting the occasional range from performing badly or losing. So, what's the big problem? Calling me killer, calling me a killer from violent crime video games doesn't even begin to solve the world's problems. Christopher Ferguson said, violent video games do not appear to be linked to aggression. Games are now more important than ever for socialization, feeling autonomy and control during uncertain time and just distressing. Researchers in the US have been described a history of moral panic causing media reporting on link between violent video games and violent crime. They are concerned that despite a Supreme Court ruling in 2011, which found no evidence to support connection between violent games and crime. In fact, some studies show the opposite may be true, indicating that when every popular violence game comes out, violent crime goes down, not up. One study undertaken by the University of Texas used data from the National Incident-Based Reporting System on incidents of violent crime and compared it to the weekly sales of violent video games over 6 years period. In comparing weekly violent crime figure with weekly sales of violent games, it was found that violent video figure drops when popular video games were released. Researchers describe this method as what criminal justice scholars call incapacitation. That is, if a person is engaged in an activity such as a work, sport of watching movie, then the person is not engaging in antisocial or criminal activities. They noted that video games seem to be more stigmatized pastime than playing sport, but the basic mechanism is exactly the same. If you are busy gaming, you are not committing crime. As a researcher who has studied violent video games for almost 15 years, I can state that there is no evidence to support this claim that violence media and real-world violence are connected, said Professor Christopher. When you waste time blaming whatever is handy, you let the real issue unchecked. For example, people like to use violent video games to blame violence in youth or general misbehavior. Very simply, it's just another distraction. People use a misunderstanding to further their own goals and pull into their personal bias. So how do we fix this? Honestly, it's fairly simple. There are a wealth of studies that show there is no correlation between violent video games, for instance, and violent action. Even better, there are studies that have done a review of some study have hinted that there may be connected between violent video games and youth violence and end up discrediting them from bias. At first, it can be difficult to accept new information. You have to remember your first impression is not always correct. Finally, remember there is really nothing to gain by needless blaming something that is not a fact. Being excited to fix the world is great, but be sure you are fixing the right thing. But of course, why does it matter? I'm ready and willing to admit that this is just one of many things people blame that is not at fault. It just so happened to be one that annoys me the most. However, that doesn't mean there are not some fantastic benefit from letting this industry grow. Video games and gamers have done some incredible things. First, games have saved lives. For example, a boy which is called Hans was walking home from school with his sister via a shortcut through the woods, which strangely sounds like the start to every child parable before shit hit the fence. When a moose started to become aggravated by their presence, rather than panic, Hans used the taunt skill he learned from playing World of Warcraft and distracted the moose's attention away from his sister. For those who don't know, the taunt is used in the game to focus enemies so you can take them on one at a time. The secondly is improve mental health memory. Many video games require some serious strategy and concentration. If you have ever built your own civilization in Minecraft or fought for your life in Fortnite, you know how important it is to remember where you found specific resources or where you need to get next. With 3D graphics and immersive audio, video game environments are extremely rich in stimuli. Navigating the virtual world of video games is now very familiar to navigating the real world. In fact, exploring video game universe can have a positive impact on memory in your everyday life. When you must juggle multiple tasks and goals while navigating a virtual space, you are exercising your hippocampus. This is the part of the brain responsible for converting short-term memory to long-term memory, as well as controlling partial memory. When you keep your hippocampus in shape, you will see improved long-term memory and be better at navigating physical space if you are prone to get lost on your way to the store. Video game may be able to help improve your memory for direction. There are plenty of skills I've learned from playing video games. It's more interactive than playing TV because there are problems to solve as you are using your brain. I invite you all to find out more about video games because video games also have a lot of benefit in your life. If you need to be more extroverted person in real life, try playing games online and you will become one. I hope all of this information made you realize that video games are actually give us a benefit. Thank you.